Goshen Station, about 90 k's southeast of Mount Garnet on 48,000 acres. About 900 mil rainfall where we are, so we're right on the edge of the savannah where it turns then into rainforest. So we're a beef breeding operation and take our cattle through to feeders about the 350 average weight range, so run about 3 to 3,500 head total, about 1,400 breeders. So all the young cattle go on to Lakina after weaning. The first of them probably are only on it for 6 months before they leave, and the smaller fellas generally 12 months. We've been making changes ever since we come here in 1997, from starting to do a little bit of clearing and pasture improvement. It's just been an ongoing process of making paddocks smaller. We're just splitting an 8,000 acre paddock into two. So we're going to do some paddock rotation stuff. We were doing that pretty much before on a 2 or 3 paddock rotation, but now we're going to make it about a 7 paddock rotation is the goal to get to. At the moment, we've sort of joined a couple of mobs together and put them into like a 5 paddock rotation. You've got to make sure your waters are in order. We're going to take some water from an existing bore and run that a few k's to a tank, and then gravity from that tank out to a couple of troughs into each paddock, so just increase the water. We've got a lot more cattle drinking at these watering points at the moment. Now we've got one big mob in one paddock, on one water basically, so it puts a lot more pressure on that. With the mustering side of things, we've got 2 mobs instead of 4 mobs to muster. That's a catch-20 as well. So instead of bringing in a nice comfortable mob of a couple of hundred breeders and dealing with branding the calves, all of a sudden you've got 400, or the mobs might end up 500 or 600. If the mobs end up getting way bigger, we'll have to do things a little differently. We're still in the learning phase of all that, how we're going to go with our rotation with our different soil types. So we don't want to end up with a big mob in our black soil during heavy wet times, because all we're going to do is, basically walk a lot of it into the ground, and the cattle won't do very well as well. So we've sort of got to try and match climatic conditions to grazing, basically. So, unless you've got your feet on the ground, you don't really know what's going on in the paddock. So you got to be in the paddock to be feeling and seeing what's happening. And the other big issue here has always been weeds. If you had one big paddock before, you couldn't lock that whole big paddock up. So by splitting that paddock into 2 or 3 enabled you to lock one section up for a wet season, a full 12 months, and then put a good fire through it to try and get rid of a lot of the lantana and regrowth suckers. Tree thickening and weeds, it all goes hand in hand. So being able to burn is beneficial for us in this area because it's a higher rainfall than, say, 50 k's west of us. Just from past experience, I know that when you do spell paddocks, even in the dry time, they still do grow a little bit. So I can see the benefit in a more regular rotation. The grass gets a chance to regenerate and rejuvenate. Rotational grazing's been around for a long time. Different ways of doing it. 2 paddock rotation or a 10 paddock rotation. Any sort of rotation is better than no rotations. The main thing is being able to get ideas from other people and keep an open mind, and financial help to get a project off the ground. That always helps. Basically our goal is to create minimal runoff or no runoff if we can. Who wants to hurt the reef? It's one of the most important or nicest things we have in the north, so it is a good feeling to be able to feel you're doing the right thing.